to set you free. You say you need a hero, but don't put your faith in me. Don't put your faith in me. No. We all get lost sometimes. We all fall sometimes. The darkness in our hearts makes us shine like little stars. We are heroes. We are heroes. Heroes. We are heroes. We are heroes. See you walking through dark lands, searching for a strong hand.
There we go.
Take the reins and don't let go, but don't put your faith in me. 'Cause I'm no hero, at least not tonight. 'Cause we all get scared sometimes, we all fall sometimes. The darkness in our hearts makes us shine like little stars. We all get lost sometimes, we all fall sometimes. The darkness in our hearts makes us shine like little stars. We are heroes. We are heroes.
There we go.
Heroes. We are heroes. We are heroes. Heroes. We are heroes. Heroes. Say you hate the darkness, 'cause it's a lonely place. We don't need the darkness, 'cause that's what makes us heroes. What makes us heroes every day. We are heroes. Heroes. We are heroes. I live 17 floors up, and when it rains, I can feel those drops in my window pane. Lets me know that I'm still here. But when the sun comes out, I will go outside. When it breaks through clouds, I will give a smile. Lets me know that I'm still here. Sometimes I want to run away, run away, to find good times again, to find all my old friends. Times I said good times, find my friends again. I said I wanna have good times, good times, find my friends again, and good times. I said good times, find my friends again. I said I wanna have good times, good times, find my friends again, and I live 17 floors up, and when I cry, I can see this city through my watered eyes. Lets me know that I'm still here. When my eyes clear up, I will go outside. I'll imagine you're still by my side. Lets me know that I'm still here. Sometimes I want to run away, find good times again, to find all my old friends. Run away, to the nearest place where I'll find all my old friends. Good times, I said good times, find my friends again. I said I wanna have good times, good times, find my friends again. And good times, I said good times, find my friends again. I said I wanna have good times, good times, find my friends again. And find my friends again. I said I wanna have good times, good times, find my friends again. And good times, I said good times, find my friends again. I said I wanna have good times, good times, find my friends again. And I wake up early, I sleep alone. I try to find love from a stranger on my phone. My vision blurred, so I forget. Dying to hold you, but you left me here for dead. How could I do what I've done if I'm in love? You know I did what I did, you loaded the gun. Don't wanna think about you anyway. I do it anyway. Yeah, didn't mean to do it every day. I do it anyway. I do it anyway. I do it anyway. Don't wanna think about you anyway. I do it anyway. Messing with monsters up in my head. I told myself lying beside her in my bed. Paint over pictures you left behind. I'd punch the walls if it would make you change your mind. How could I do what I've done if I'm in love? You know I did what I did, you loaded the gun. And I don't wanna think about you anyway. I do it anyway. Yeah, didn't mean to do it every day. I do it anyway.
Hello. Let's do that again. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Down in the Valley, brought to you by Roughneck Scarves and Golden Gold Press. And so welcome to another episode. We are finally back. We had a 2-week hiatus, but we're back. I wasn't dead. I was just partying. But thankfully, we're back to do another show for you guys to continue talking about RGVFC. And of course, like every week, we have our very good friend, Jacob Young. Jacob, how are you doing, man?
Doing all right. Not doing too bad, for sure. Ready to talk some soccer after 2 weeks, although I did give a little post-game show yesterday, or not yesterday, but Saturday about the San Antonio FC game, and then, of course, was on Generation Orange last night, and, of course, none other than the Orange Block Soccer Cast last night as well. So, been pretty fun. It's been a pretty fun day, and ready to talk some more soccer today as well.
Pretty busy week, huh, for you, from what
Yeah.
it sounds like. So we'll talk a little bit more about what you all talked about yesterday with the guys at the Orange and Black Soccer Cast. Pretty much as the preview, we talk about the preview for the Orange County versus RGVFC match that will happen this week. But besides from that, we have a lot of stuff to talk about. We have, obviously, we're going to be talking about the South Texas Derby. We'll be talking about the Orange County game. But we also got a couple of things that we would like to talk about as well. Number one, we talked about it in Generation Orange yesterday, and that is the new broadcasting rights in Spanish with Somos El Valle Channel 5.2. We're also going to be talking about the let me find the name of that. It's this new cup, the Houston Dynamo, the Leagues Cup. We'll be talking about the Leagues Cup. We'll be talking about what Lester Gresh from Houston actually announced today in regards to the Leagues Cup and the Houston Dynamo, which does affect RGVFC. We're also going to be talking about tomorrow's announcement. So tomorrow at 10 a.m., there's going to be an announcement by HEB Park. All we know is that it's going to be for an international friendly. That's all we know for sure. But we'll be talking about what our predictions for that would be as well. So, and as always, the chat is open for you all to interact with us. If you guys, for anyone who is out here, want to say hi to Blues Fan for always being on our show, and for all 4 of you that are watching right now, we greatly appreciate for you to take the time out of your lives to listen to us. And right off the bat, I'm just gonna ask for forgiveness because my throat's feeling not that great from vacation, and I will talk a little bit about that. Just kind of as a teaser, although I just saw Jacob nod his head in disapproval. But no, just a quick it was just quickly. It was fun. I went to Costa Maya, just went to Cozumel. I did go in Costa Maya. I did go to a couple of places in there in the port, a tequila museum as well as a chocolate museum. So if you guys ever go on a cruise to Costa Maya, I highly recommend the Chocolate Museum. It's very interactive. I did post a couple of pictures in my social media. Like I said, it's pretty fun, pretty interactive, and the chocolate is great. I bought one. It's white chocolate with tequila. Amazing chocolate bar. And as well, the tequila is pretty great as well. You can already imagine how many shots I drank. No Blues, because I was already feeling it yesterday. But I think that rant kind of might have made it worse. But we're good. We're good for today. I didn't want to miss another week of Down in the Valley. So we're here. We're gonna continue talking about the Toros because that's what this team needs. So let's go ahead and start with the South Texas Derby. Coming into this game, the Toros came in with some pressure because of the result from the week before, in which they lost the lead in stoppage time against LA Galaxy 2. And because of that, they fell down to like 14th place in the Western Conference. We all know that the Western Conference is extremely tight this season. So it was one of those things where they had needed to know that they are not in a position to lose any points, especially at home. So this Saturday, they played against San Antonio FC at home. San Antonio coming in as a dumpster fire this season. They hasn't been playing as good as the roster says they should, or how they had been coming in from previous seasons. But Jacob was there at the stadium, and he can talk a little bit more about the South Texas Derby.
Yeah, exactly. It was an interesting start, to say so the least. It was an interesting just game in general, from the start, which was just, well, yeah, no, it was a great start from RGVFC. It was a totally different game than really we were expecting. Of course, when San Antonio FC came in with the form that they were, of course they were 0-5-0, if I'm not mistaken, on the road, not having gotten any points when they went to a road game. So that was really important for RGVFC to know that they needed to be ready from minute one. And sure enough, they were. We could tell that they were able to control possession as well as just not only do that, but really play a counter-attacking football at 2016 Houston Dynamo style, and it paid off or 2017, Houston Dynamo style, and it really paid off in the end, considering that they were able to get a goal pretty quick into the game. I know a lot of people would say that that was kind of far into the game. Well, it was still the first half for them to really get going. And sure enough, that really helped boost their confidence, and it made San Antonio FC chase the game, which is what you want your team to do, is to make the opposing team chase that game. And sure enough, they were able to do that. It didn't get heated, which was interesting to say so the least, as in during the game, it wasn't too big with the rivalry side of things.
That's one of the things that kind of surprised me the most about this game, was the lack of intensity. And I put 80% of the blame on San Antonio FC. Because right off the bat, they were playing very lethargic. They were not playing with any passion. They were being lazy. Lance Lang being the worst culprit of that. So, honestly, the Toros didn't really have to do much to defeat the San Antonio FC. And it's all because of San Antonio's players. Now, was it because they're trying to fire Darren Powell, like some San Antonio fans are kind of commenting? I'm not really sure. I think that's the most logical explanation, because it does have it's a topic that's the elephant in the room kind of thing. Nobody wants to address it. Nobody wants to admit that this is real, especially players and coaches and other media members. But you look at how players like cut-inside man Billy Forbes usually play, how Lance Lang usually plays, how Ever Guzman usually plays, how Matt Cardoni usually plays. They're usually really good players, and it hurts to say it because it's San Antonio. But you look at the crap that they presented on Saturday, and obviously the Toros, they did what they needed to do, which was take advantage of the situation and get the win. So we can't blame the Toros on that. They just took advantage of the situation. But frankly, San Antonio left a lot to be desired. And I don't know how that is going to affect the rivalry as a whole. But San Antonio better get their crap together for the next time that we play against them at Toyota Field. Does that mean firing Darren Powell? Maybe. It might be that his time at San Antonio FC is long past.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, even from the start of this game, I don't necessarily think that they were throwing away the game. San Antonio FC was, because yeah, like you said, you looked at the lineup that they presented and it wasn't bad. That's their form. I think it's actually just how the players have been playing. I mean, and it's so true, because you think about who was able to start this game, and of course, yes, there were a lot of RGVFC players that are now long gone from San Antonio FC as well. But one that, of course, brings not really a tear to my eye anymore would be Kai Green. That's one player right there, and he started that match. why wasn't he starting for RGVFC? I think we kind of know the reason why. He looked okay, but he wasn't absolutely amazing on defense, considering that they went for a.
Now let's be honest. Let's be honest. Chuy Enriquez made him look like an idiot.
That too, and that's fantastic when it comes to our perspective. But at the same exact time, Kai Green, of course he had a desire to play for the MLS, and then of course he doesn't get any starting time and he wants to play. Yes, San Antonio seems like a perfect opportunity. So now we had seen who our other, even from last season, our other defenders were, and right off that bat, well, there were better players, and at one point Kai Green was that better player, but when it came to, I guess, game time even, he didn't look like the man that could be starting a lot of games. And so, yes, that's one player on San Antonio FC for this past weekend that, or even for this season, that hasn't necessarily made a big dent for them or helped them out as much as he could have. And that's a player that you think of, well, yeah, they're just in a hole. They're kind of in a rebuilding stage. And, well, I'm not going to lie, I'm a bit happy about that. No lie. And, of course, yes, like rumors have been going around that it's probably the coach's last home derby or something like that with him. So it's going to be interesting to see if he gets fired before or after the season, which I think it will be before the end of the season is what I really mean.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was just an interesting game, a dominant performance from RGVFC, and you want to win by these score lines, especially against whoever it is. Yes, it helped because they lost a week ago to, let's admit, yes, however much we hate LA Galaxy 2, they somehow, some way find a way to draw on the road.
Yeah.
And, I mean, hats off to them for a bit because that's impressive. They did that to Orange County FC as well the same time that we were playing against San Antonio FC. So, yes, we were playing with fire. We were playing with something that we needed to prove, which we did need to prove that we could get a win, especially at home against our rivals, and it worked out for sure. I say it was a couple of factors into this win as well. We got a bit of luck charms. Thank you, Carson, and of course, thank you, Teklo from the Monitor, or the freelancer from the Monitor, basically, because both of them were in attendance, and we were able to get 3 points.
So, during or right after the match, I was talking with Harry from San Antonio soccer table, and one of the things that he mentioned is he didn't understand why Lance Lang was positioned as a defender. Lance Lang is usually, from what he tells me, Lance Lang is usually a winger. He has no idea why he was playing as a left back in this match, and it just showed. And you look at the replays to the goals or other, throughout the match, and you see how San Antonio's defense was. There was just a blatant lack of communication, especially in the second half when they were trying to take some risks, trying to find the second goal, trying to even find the first goal before Ever Guzman scored. And all that did was leave San Antonio vulnerable to the counter. And now I'm assuming that because Lance Lang is a really quick player, I'm going to assume he's probably the quickest in San Antonio's lineup. Darren Powell probably placed him in that position to try to counteract Malik Foster's speed. Yeah. But at the end, his lack of knowledge as a defender outweighed his speed. Because it got to the point, if you look at I believe it's the second goal. If you look at the second goal, Lance Lang was the first one. Number one, he placed Michael Salazar in an onside position. And number two, He saw Michael Salazar run away, and he just gave up. Like, he's just stopped running. And not even try to put a little bit of pressure on Michael Salazar as he was going one-on-one against Matt Cardoni. And that is just unacceptable. You know, I'm not a San Antonio fan by any means, as it is obvious. But you look at something like that, and as a soccer fan, it boils your blood because this is supposed to be a professional player who you would assume would put in their guts, their 100%, no matter what. And for you to see a player like that give up so easily, it's just bad. And it's just embarrassing for Lance Lang to put in that kind of performance.
Yeah. And I think you hit it perfectly as well, not just to mention that you were also saying his lack of defensive knowledge really hurt him in that game, besides, of course, giving up. Because at times, I mean, it is tough to not necessarily give up. It's tough, especially when you're put in that situation when, of course, you're supposed to be this offensive player that's not known to play defense, A, and then B, of course, just you know that you are normally the guy to basically push forward and try to help your team out that way. Of course, helping your team out in different ways is going to hurt you. And then when you give up, it is embarrassing for sure when you see that. But to give him the benefit of the doubt, to say so the least, is going to be crazy. But I think I have to, due to the fact of what's happening to San Antonio. I mean, I think now really just being able to diagnose this game and even diagnose this lineup shows that it's a sinking ship in a way. And I think Coach, might be on his last legs, and we could probably see him gone as well just due to that fact. So it's really tough to see anything going better, I guess, for San Antonio until they get a new, basically, coaching staff.
The only problem I see for San Antonio to get a new coach is that 9 times out of 10, when you get a new coach, unless you're specifically looking for coaches that have a similar system than the coach you're going to fire, more often than not, you're going to have to get a coach that's got a different idea on how to play the sport, which means that a couple of your players that are usual starters or part of the roster aren't compatible. You find that they aren't compatible with the new style that the new coach wants to implement. And so you end up trying to put in these pieces together that are not compatible, and it ends up being a little bit worse. Now, you probably understand that it'll probably be more like an extended tryout session for next year once the coach is given an off season to get his new pieces that go along with his style. But at the end of the day, if that is the case, you end up just giving up for this season. And it's sad in a rivalry perspective that what is usually really good games, really tight games between RGV and San Antonio just ended up being a game that could have been 6-5, 7-0, or 7-1. And if it wasn't for the Toros' lack of finishing or passing accuracy in the counterattack at times, or just the timing in general in their counters, this could have been a runaway game. This could have been more embarrassing than it actually was. Now, we are kind of lucky that in this case that San Antonio was a complete dumpster fire. But other teams that are a lot more organized defensively, the Toros need to capitalize on the counterattacking opportunities. They need to understand where they need to pass the ball, when they need to pass the ball. where to finish. I'm counting a minimum of 4 other counterattacking opportunities that San Antonio gave the Toros that didn't end up in a goal for X or Y reason. And I think Rey asked the question about that, and Coach Echeverri made the comment that, yes, that is something that he would like to see improve, especially if the idea is to fight for those top spots in the USL Western Conference. But other than that, like I said, it was a really good result. I think it was a statement to the rest of Copa Tejas, to the rest of the USL, that, hey, this is not 2017's Tor or 2018's RGVFC. This is a new and improved RGVFC, and I think you talked about that yesterday on Orange and Black Soccercast about that offensively this team is a whole lot better than last year's. I mean, how many games has Michael Salazar played for the Toros so far since he came in? Not a lot. And yet he's already scored 7 goals. He's already tied the record for most goals scored in a season for RGVFC strikers. That means something. That means that this team, Chuy Enriquez, Michael Salazar, and Malik Foster, are starting to gel really, really well. My biggest concern is going forward, right off the bat, Malik Foster, what's going to happen? Is the Dynamo going to go ahead and splurge and pay La Juanense to keep him? Or are they going to let him go? What about Michael Salazar? Is he going to be Mauro Manotas' backup or even replacement for the Houston Dynamo because of his current trend here at RGVFC? We don't know that for sure. What we do know is that this Trident is bringing in so many good results that we have to enjoy it for the time that they are here with us at RGVFC.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you kind of took the words right out of my mouth to say, yeah, we got to enjoy it while they're still here, of course, because this is the reason why we're here, the reason why this team will always be here, almost always will be here, until, of course, we make enough money and can stabilize and get all these scouts and, of course, be a Houston Dynamo, basically.
Yeah.
On our own. But for now, of course, we're here to give Houston Dynamo the players, and, well, as things are looking like, we're making the right steps. We're really producing better players, greater players, and how can they come from adversity? How can they do all these things? And so that's a big possibility that probably will be a good thing. And, of course, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens come, I believe, it's around July is when that transfer window opens up.
Correct.
And, of course, those rumors will just keep on happening until then. So, yeah, it's a lot of things will have to play out for us to figure out what this team is going to be in the real stretch in August and September. Because, of course, October comes playoff time, and that's it. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm. So you take a look at the stats for this match, and right off the bat, one thing that sticks out is the lack of possession for the Toros. 36% over 64%. How many times has Coach said possession isn't everything? You can have the most possession, but if you don't put the ball in the net, what good is it? Mm-hmm. With the Toros, they knew right off the bat when they scored the first goal, they ceded some initiative to San Antonio because they were going to get desperate, especially the way they were trying to attack, bringing in a bunch of attackers, unorganized actually, and they left themselves vulnerable on the counter, and that is where the Toros capitalized those counterattacks. They didn't need to have a lot of possession of the ball. They just needed a counter. And we mentioned it many times. This looks a lot like that 2017 Houston Dynamo with Albert Elise, Romel Kyoto, and Mauro Manotas, where it was all counterattack style. I believe it was the year that Wilmer Cabrera debuted with the Houston Dynamo head coach. That's basically what this is. Now, one thing that I also have to say about this is that pass accuracy, well, it wasn't really that great, but at the end of the day, like we said, it's all about getting those shots on target, which was 5 shots on target. But overall, it was a really good match. Jacob, which player did you think was the standout? You still go with Michael Salazar because of the brace?
I think you definitely have to go with Michael Salazar just because you've seen a couple of the goals where even the goalkeeper, which I can't remember the goalkeeper's name from.
Cardoni?
Yeah, Cardoni, exactly. How could I forget that name, actually? Because thank you, Stampede, for creating an interesting and pretty funny, actually, chant.
He likes the baloney.
Exactly. But, yeah, because Cardoni a lot of times or a couple of times came out of the box. And so, like, when when RGVFC was on that attack, and they were close to the box, they were close to the goal, and they were able to get around that goalie, that goalkeeper, and put the ball into the back of the net. And so that was big, especially with Michael Salazar getting a couple of those shots for sure. And just they were able to beat the keeper, which is 100% what you need to do. And of course, yes, I mean, if this was hockey, which of course it's not, but you would have those 3 stars is what I'm really trying to say here. Yeah. And for me, those 3 standout stars, you always have to include the goalkeeper. Michael Nelson, of course, at that point when he let in that goal, the defense was kind of, they were lackluster at the end. Well, let's be real, as in they let their guard down a bit too much.
I don't think it was that they let their guard down. I think they were kind of a little bit tired.
That too, yeah.
Because remember that most of the things that Toros did was defend. And Connor Donovan and Kyle Adams, each of them got 9 clearances that night, which means they were pretty busy, which means that they did a heck of a job. And obviously, I knew that right off the bat, I knew that somehow Ever Guzman was going to show his talent and score on us. The guy has scored 5 goals against the Toros. So we are his best customers, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know, but nobody else helped them out. Neither did Billy Forbes or Christian Perano or Brian Gomez. They didn't help him out, you know, in getting something up on the attack. So right then and there, as you can see, it was a great job defensive-wise. And it was just that at that point, they were kind of getting a little bit tired. They kind of got a little bit sloppy. But once they realized that Ever Guzman scored on them, they're like, hey, we don't want a repeat of what happened last week where we lost the lead against LA Galaxy 2. Remember, Ever Guzman's goal came in the 70th minute. They would have had 20 minutes to score 2 more goals. So they had enough time to do so and say, you know what? We're going to do our job and not let any more goals pass. And that's exactly what they did. It was a great match overall. They needed to do the damage they needed to do it, and they needed to defend themselves the way they needed to do it. Now, the question is, would this be enough against a better team than San Antonio, one that isn't a complete dumpster fire? I have a feeling that it is.
Oh, yeah. You still score 3 goals on a team. Yes, you do give up a couple of opportunities from a counter. That is okay. You're not going to hit every single pass. You're not going to hit every single thing. That's absolutely crazy talk in just a game of soccer, because when you're playing a better team, you're going to have better defense in general, playing on both sides. So, well, of course, it's going to create a tougher game for both sides, and even if you do get a good counter opportunity and things like that, of course, that one's going to have to be perfect. But yes, you still put up 3 goals against a team, and then of course, because the most important thing really from just RGVFC standpoint in general is getting past the defense, basically, is really being able to beat the defense and putting the ball where it needs to be on a constant basis. And so I guess right now it looks good. I think it would be just enough to get past a better team for sure. And this team, yes, can only get better. And of course, can also get worse for some time being due to just, I don't know, Malik Foster leaving and a couple of really key offensive targets leaving. But other than that, I think with the way that this is going, we can only get better and, sure enough, fix some mistakes. And it looks like I think this team can have enough against a lot of better teams. Of course, we don't have to play the Galaxy anymore. We still will have to play Orange County SC at least one more time, and it will be at home after this Saturday. And then we still have to play Portland Timbers 2 at home as well, so that's another 3 points that would be needed. Phoenix Rising, same deal at home. Man, there's so many other teams.
Tacoma Defiance.
Austin Bold. Oh, exactly. Tacoma Defiance. And yeah, the list goes on. I'm not going to sit here and name all the teams. I mean, I know Real Monarchs is going to be a road game soon, but we'll also probably play them back at home too. So yeah, going to be a long season. Still is a long season. We just have to keep our heads in the game, try to stay focused. We get 2 weeks off, that's for sure, I believe, for that Gold Cup. Both USL and MLS give them two weeks off at least for MLS.
Hold on. 8th, the 15th, the 23rd.
Maybe not. No.
No, they don't.
No, never mind. Good news, of course, we'll probably not get any Houston Dynamo players down.
Well, here's the thing. Malik Foster is in the preliminary roster for Jamaica.
I forgot about that. This is like his last game.
It's preliminary, though. So they still need to because they need to cut it down to 23, if I'm not mistaken.
Right now it's at 40. At least one friendly, right?
No, they need to do it. They need to cut it before they do that.
Well, he's gonna be away with them then.
Yeah, and he's going up against some fierce competition, not only in MLS but also within USL and even in Europe. So we really wish and hope that he gets the call up, but I'm just putting in the stating that it's a 40-man roster right now. There's still a possibility he won't get called up, and we will still have him for the. Although, hold on, we said that he might need to go back. I said June or July, I think. So, yeah. But anyways, we just like we said, we need to enjoy him while we still can, and kind of be prepared to, number one, see if the Dynamo decides to keep him and try and keep him, because it is possible, as long as the Dynamo puts in the money. No, especially with this, and I know you always say that you believe that Elise is not going anywhere this offseason.
He ain't going.
But we have to prepare for the fact that it happens. And I think that Malik Foster's play style is a pretty great replacement or similar to Albert Elise.
Yeah, and quick one thing on that I really heard from Ray kind of mentioning this as well, is the whole reason why I think this is kind of happening, not just because, of course, that whole deal with the transfer or some type of loan rule or whatever, but it's also because that team really, really needs him as well.
Yeah.
And they need him back no matter what. So they might, if we even approach them, they might decline instantly and say he's too much of an important role. And so that might become a problem, and they might not take cash over this play style. So, because of course, as we all know, it is really tough to find someone in a transfer window just in general, especially given the fact that we've had to find some of these players just luckily getting them off of a loan. So it all goes back to, will they or won't they?
Yeah, pretty much. But going on with this topic, one of the reasons I mentioned why I felt that Everett Guzman's goal was based on fatigue by the RGVFC defense, you take a look at how the Toros played. Most of their pressure came in the midfield. They choked San Antonio's transition from defense to offense. Like, there were so many times where San Antonio, or the Toros, I might say, caused San Antonio to make a bad pass or not release the ball quick enough, and Isidro or Romilio or even Wilmer Cabrera Jr. would steal the ball away from the San Antonio as they were transitioning into the attack and left them pretty much vulnerable in the counterattack. And they did that for so many lapses of this match that's why I feel that when Everett Guzman scored, they were kind of pretty much controlling themselves, controlling their pace to try to not be fatigued by the time they get to the 90 minutes that they were burnt out. So that's what I believe. And I think it's a great thing that the Toros did. It just helped a lot that for some reason San Antonio never really reacted to that by going for long balls or whatever you want to call it. It just seems that they knew what was going to happen. They had no idea how to counteract the high pressure that the Toros midfield were putting on them.
Yeah, I see that for sure. It was true. They were, I mean, you even said it before too. Just like you said, a lot of them had 9 clearances, and that's just that's for the defense. And of course, they were getting tired. Of course, it was the 70th minute, and like you did say, it was like they got their second win too. Mm-hmm. Right after they conceded that goal, well, there was new life in those defenders, because if I'm not mistaken, they didn't necessarily get subbed out. Let's see your timeline. After that goal from San Antonio FC, out was Wilmer Cabrera Jr. So really, Jerson messed with the midfield.
Yes.
Which is something pretty normal for Brad Dunwell, which seems like he was coming off of, I guess, an injury a bit. I don't know. Because right after, which I saw with my own 2 eyes, was Brad Dunwell went into the training room, or the workout room, and just ran some more on the treadmill.
As far as I know,
that could just be pretty normal, but
yeah,
that's what I think.
Yeah, I think it's just something normal, because we've seen it a couple of times where they'll do that. The one I know for sure, the player I know for sure that's going to be out for an extended amount of time is Hector Copete. I believe he had a surgery done. And yes, this is coming from their social media, and that's why we're saying it. But yes, never been officialized by the team. We all know that what happens with that. But so, Coach, don't get mad at us. It's just something that we just need to say. And it kind of helps that really Copete isn't really a player that he really called up upon many, many times. As far as I know, he really didn't have any minutes with the Toros, but he is still a part of the roster, and he is out. He is out for an injury. So, so that's the only one that I know that is injured right now. I think everybody else is pretty much match fit. Brad Dunwell getting some minutes. After all, he is also a Houston Dynamo draft pick, albeit not one with an MLS contract like Sam Junqua. But it's because of that, it's good for him to get a couple of minutes when we all know that our best center defensive midfielders are Romilio Hernandez and Isidro Martinez. Who, by the way, Isidro, man, that guy is amazing. It's great that the best part is he's a homegrown. So it's just proof that there is good talent out there in the Rio Grande Valley. And I hope as the Toros Academy continues to churn out talent, we get to see more and more on that on the first team. But moving on from San Antonio, I think we've already beat the Coyote.
I think we've hit them enough while they're down.
Yeah, I think we pretty much beat up a dead Coyote already. Notice how I said Coyote because of the San Antonio Spurs, but it's neither here nor there. But moving on, this Saturday, we visit Orange County SC. Like we said at the beginning of the program, you were on last night on Orange and Black Soccercast, which is another BGN podcast that covers Orange County SC. How was it? How was that?
Fantastic. I mean, second straight year that they've asked for one of us to at least come down, or not come down, but just, be on their show. And they are fantastic hosts as always, and very fun to be on it for sure. Funny story, they actually have their own little fantasy league going on with just their own team. They get to draft those players and make points, a point system up. And so it was pretty funny because their predictions for the game, because they've got some they've got some players that can score some goals for sure. And the host, I believe it was Ray, was saying he's going to score a hat trick, and then another player like that's going to score a hat trick and a hat trick and a hat trick.
Yeah.
And that's going to help me out a ton in this league, and I'm going to be leading for fantasy. So I thought that was kind of funny, and it was very fun because of a bit of banter going on, but always a good time.
Yeah, and one of the things that kind of surprised me about Orange County SC is that this team was really, really good last season. And this season, they are a shell out of their former selves. They are now in 13th place with only 15 points. Granted, it's only 1 point below us. But still, this was a team, like we said, that was fighting for the top spots. And you look back at their recent matches, and you look at it, and it's 1-0 draw, 1-0 loss against OKC Energy away. Tied 2-2 against Fresno, who was down 10 men. They defeat Phoenix Rising, okay. Tied against San Antonio at Toyota Field 0-0. They were eliminated by Orange County FC in the U.S. Open Cup in penalties. I'm trying to figure out what league they're in, Orange County FC. But then they draw against Austin Bold at home, draw against LA Galaxy 2 at home, and now it's us. So they haven't really been on fire these last couple of matches, which is a completely different aspect when you look at RGVFC. They've been in a better run of form lately, and I think that this is a match where I think the Toros will be comfortable playing in.
Yeah, and I mean, there were some things that I got to pick up from last night as well. It could, and this one's just a burn to this player, but it could be the Leonardo curse.
Ah,
And
dear.
B, they did lose their leader last year, their captain last year for just a different team. And so, of course, as you and I both know, when you lose your captain, it is tough to get things really started. But by this time, they should really have someone that's a leader. But apparently, they just don't have anyone that is a leader like that. And so that's a bit of a problem. It's different with when you don't have that sort of leader to really rally your troops and stuff like that. And then, of course, yeah, it's a different team that they had. It's just like us for 3 years is what it felt like for us just to have this different team and not really a set team, considering, okay, 2016 was a good year. Then 2017 happens and 2018. And then 2018, of course, that's another rebuilding year, considering after after Wilmer Cabrera's coach was. I mean, that's even a guy that should not be named, that should just be left alone, like delete the history for that year, basically. I'm talking not even Owen Coyle. I'm talking RGV.
Oh, Junior Gonzalez.
Exactly. That's delete history on both.
That never happened. That was the Mandela effect in effect.
Exactly, basically. And then, of course, we got last year, which was just a rebuilding year, considering we had to start from scratch once again.
Yeah.
And now, of course, this year we've got a team that's kind of set up. And so, yes, you lose those players. It is a bit of a rebuilding year. And it almost always happens when you get to a certain sort of, I guess, form for a season before then.
Yeah.
Where you make the playoffs, you make the finals, the Western Conference Finals, and then, of course, you go down. That was Orange County's kind of, I guess, collapse in a way, but not really a collapse, as in they're just rebuilding, finding their form, of course. Like I said, long season to go, they could change their form instantly, but yes, this is a game that RGVFC can dominate if they're smart. And of course, I would not be shocked to see Tyler Derrick come and play goalkeeper, for this match in Orange County. I would not be shocked for us to see
Junqua,
your favorite player, Sam Junqua.
who isn't needed. I'm going to be honest. We don't need Sam Junqua.
Who isn't needed, but is needed to get some playing time by the Houston Dynamo.
Yeah. You can't get everything that you want, Dynamo. Suck it up.
And then Chris Duval as well is probably going to happen.
Another one of those that I wish would stay away from RGVFC. I'm going to be honest.
And then you still got Connor Donovan and Kyle Adams. I bet you that's going to be the back line for sure. Maybe they'll shock us and only send down Sam Junqua and Chris Duval and leave out Tyler Derrick, and we'll get Nico Corti. Which, once again, I can come back and say this. Well, why has Nico Corti not necessarily been as well as the season before? Because he hasn't had enough playing time. When you don't get enough playing time, you're rusty. That's the same thing with Tyler Derrick.
To be fair, you can't. You have to admit that Michael Nelson is a much better goalkeeper than Nico Corti. Nico Corti is good. Nico Corti, yes. Nico Corti is really good.
Yes.
For the level. But Michael Nelson he's in a level higher than Nico Corti.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a reason Michael Nelson hasn't been able to get some minutes with the first team. And that is because you got Joe Willis up there in the Houston Dynamo, who's on another level. Yeah. So we're in a good situation goalkeeper-wise, to be honest. For sure.
Yes.
Because no matter where you look at, we have talent. Mm-hmm. We have Tyler Derrick, who's got leadership, experience, you name it, and talent. You've got Michael Nelson, who has reflexes. Obviously, the talent is there. Not as much leadership, but I think that's something that can be developed as long as he continues to get some playing time with RGV. And then you've got Nico Corti, and then you've got Ben Willis. We're in a situation, unlike previous years, where our goalkeepers were a disaster.
Yep.
We're in a situation where no matter where you look at it, you got good talent fighting for that spot. And it's not like other positions where you at least have a second position that you can fight for. Like, let's say, okay, you don't make it a center back, maybe you can adapt to being a left back or a right back. No, you're a goalkeeper and that's it. And if you don't make it, you're going to be on the bench or you're going to be out there in the stands. And I think this competition, I think it's going to be really, really well. However, like you said, we need to give a little bit more of a vote of confidence to Nico Corti so that he can continue to develop and to continue to play along with his RGVFC teammates, because he is good, but like most of the players right now, he needs some development as well. So I really hope that he can get some minutes. I think the match against Colorado Switchbacks would be a perfect opportunity for Nico Corti to get some good first team minutes. I think these away matches might be good for Tyler Derrick.
I 100% agree. I mean, that's kind of the way that it's been going. And what I mean by that is we've seen the switch off of goalkeepers. The last time that Nico Corti was in goal was against LA Galaxy 2. So now, of course, we get Michael Nelson for that next game, and then Tyler Derrick, and maybe Ben Willis, but most likely Nico Corti. Most likely we skip over Ben for a bit and go to Nico Corti. So that's really been the way that I've seen us using the goalkeepers, which is amazing. It's incredible. It's the best thing that we've seen in a while. It's perfect. I mean, I'm loving it too, even though it kind of sounds like I don't. I absolutely adore that, which is still really cool. Of course, you got to give them equal reps, of course, most likely. And of course, you just figuring stuff out to basically get them away from the rust. And that's a perfect way to really do that. And yeah, and then of course, like I said, I still see that defense really happening. Cristobal Samjunko plus, of course, none other than Tyler Derrick. And with Connor Donovan and Kyle Adams in that middle back line, really the lineup that we've seen against LA Galaxy 2, I think will do us really good. And of course, we just got to start off well, and hopefully Orange County SC doesn't do this where they, of course, will sit back and wait for us to really get the possession, because we've seen that go wrong for us. We've seen that go badly for us in other games where we've had that possession and not necessarily been able to score the goal. I mean, Phoenix Rising, that's a great example of that. And then, of course, a couple of other games that's a great example of it would be even a LA Galaxy 2, I think, on the road is a decent example of it. We've really struck gold once against that type of
Tacoma
play, and
Defiance. I think Tacoma Defiance was the best example of a team, just staying back and allowing the Toros to do to keep possession, and the Toros just were not able to break it apart. I think that's the best example of what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think that actually is the best example for sure.
So what else did you learn about this year's Orange County SC from being on the show?
Well, yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that I learned, I've already said it, but the biggest thing is that they do have Leonardo on their team, which is, of course, someone who kind of knows RGVFC.
Oh, by the way, biggest liability of the Houston Dynamo last year whenever he was brought in from the bench. Biggest liability.
There is a chance that man does not start for sure, and of course they've got some goal scorers, and I mean, you read their record and that's what I learned as well last night, is just the way that their form has been.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, of course, always a problem when you think about it. They're trying to get back on track, and so they're going to push a bit more, which could be interesting if they don't necessarily stay back, like I think they actually will, to try and maybe, if they're smart, considering that when those teams have done it to us, it's created havoc for RGVFC.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when RGVFC does not have possession, it is fantastic for them, and that's what you want to see as an RGVFC fan.
Mm-hmm.
Simple as that, kind of easier said than done. So we'll see what happens on those lineups. Only time will tell, but they do have some good goal scorers. You do have to watch out for it. Let me try and bring
Auden Quinn, Darwin Jones, and Michael
Exactly,
Seaton.
Auden Quinn. That's a big one.
Yeah, both.
Yeah, there's some fun. There's some also funny stories about Aaron Quinn and the PR department at Orange County.
Oh, elaborate on that. That seems like a pretty cool story.
So what happens sometimes is, just so Ray and his team are kind of working for Orange County and their department there, where because of course for the USL, you have to have and Ronnie and JT know about this too, that you have to post a pre and a, not necessarily post-game story, but it's a, what's it called?
I think like the article, right?
Yeah, the article, it's whatever, I guess the recap basically.
Yes.
And so, of course, normally that should be posted the night of, but it doesn't necessarily get posted that way. And one time, like, when they send it in, half the time or 90% of the time, Orange County doesn't even check it, and they just publish it online. So one time they misspelled Aaron Quinn's name, and so it's still up there that has been misspelled. So that was kind of funny when I heard that. It's like, they don't check things. Okay. I mean, it's their loss, I guess. And it just makes them look a bit unprofessional.
Yeah, but, there's really strict guidelines that they have to go through. So, sometimes, like even with me, when I write articles, I don't have a deadline I have to meet.
Mm-hmm.
And yet I go back the next day, read it again, and I find some spelling mistakes or grammatical errors that I pretty much glanced over the night before. And so stuff like that does happen. But the biggest thing is, like you said, like, they didn't fix it, which is kind of surprising to say the least. But yeah, I honestly think that the Toros can at least get the tie this Saturday. I think, like, I think it was Ray or one of the guys from the OB Soccer Cast saying that the stats for Toros and Orange County are so similar this season. So I have a feeling that it's going to be reflected upon the pitch, and it's going to be maybe a 2-2 tie.
Yeah, that's another thing I've heard. I learned that the pitch is not that great there this year, too. So that will play a factor as well into how RGV is able to handle that type of pitch. I don't necessarily know if they played on worse soccer fields or baseball fields as well, too. So I don't know if they played on worse ones. But for sure, that's apparently the field is not really up to their standard, which is probably a pretty good standard, too. Because, I mean, it's not like it's a bad stadium anyway.
Yeah.
Up in Orange County. I've heard it's really nice.
So remind me, and this is kind of changing the topic a little bit, but it's something that I know if I don't say it right now, I'm going to forget it. Remind me, how many teams make it to the playoffs in USL Championship?
8 teams.
8 teams, right?
And we are in 9th position. This is just a big game. and it will always be a big game because of how close it is right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're 1 point away. 8th place is El Paso Locomotive. And then in Copa Tejas, we are tied with El Paso Locomotive with 4 points in 2 matches. I think, yeah, and 4 points in 2 matches. So, like we said, these games, it's going to be down to the wire. And preferably, you don't want to lose any points at home. So, when we come back on the 15th against Colorado Springs Switchbacks, which I hope that week I can have Mark Turner from Backchat Show, if he's still available, if he's still doing podcasts. I'd love to have him on again on the show to talk to him about the Colorado Springs Switchbacks, because they're just doing so bad this year with the results. They're in second to the last place, just above Tacoma Defiance, only in goal difference. So having these games, these teams come to you are doing so horrible. This team needs to take advantage of that in order to, like we said, look for that possibility of making it back into playoffs this season. Because like we said in the beginning of the season, before the season even began, we do see this team as not a championship winning team, but a playoff team, honestly. Maybe even making it to the second round of playoffs. But other than that, like we said, we still have a lot of season to go this year, and hopefully we can continue to grow as a team and kind of counteract these negative effects of losing Malik Foster and losing Wilmer Cabrera Jr. and the possibility of losing Michael Salazar to the Houston Dynamo. Like I said, we don't know how that's going to happen. And speaking of that, let's move on over to the next topic, because I do want to get your thoughts on this. So today, the Leagues Cup was officialized, and that is an 8-team tournament between MLS and Liga Vancomer MX. This year's League Cup teams are Houston Dynamo, Tigres, Club America, Real Salt Lake. Hold on, let me get you the actual list.
Yeah, it's like Chicago Fire as well as part of that.
Yeah. So, but the big thing that we have to focus about the Leagues Cup is, number one, obviously, is that the Houston Dynamo was invited and will be participating with this cup. Now, here's the thing. Here's the kicker. I don't know if anybody has seen it in our social media, but we retweeted Lester Gresh, who is a reporter, sports reporter here in Houston with Univision 45. He asked Wilmer Cabrera about it. And what he said, what Wilmer Cabrera said about their participation in this cup is basically that Coach Cabrera will be using RGVFC players to go up against Club America July 24th.
Well, that's cool. The only thing that I'd say to that is, well, congratulations. Houston Dynamo fans are going to hate RGVFC more because they want to see their actual team up in Houston. But, of course, it won't matter because I don't necessarily think we will draw well. Houston Dynamo will draw well for that match. I think it will be packed with Club America fans, as we did see with the Tigres game. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, that's, of course, besides the point that, yes, that he's going to be using RGVFC players. That's a great thing. That's a good thing as well. But, of course, it is during the USL Championship season, so that's going to be a problem as always.
Yes.
It's just a back and forth thing where it just creates problems.
So, number one, my biggest concerns with this, and number one, what you just said right now. This is in the middle of the USL Championship. The USL Championship has no breaks so far. And in between that, like, this match falls in between a home match against Sacramento Republic on the 20th, and then a road trip to Las Vegas on the 27th.
Yeah.
So if Coach Cabrera ends up taking players like Chuy Enriquez, Michael Salazar, Wilmer Cabrera Jr., you're looking at these matches, either at home against Sacramento or away against Las Vegas, or maybe even both. Coach Echeverri is going to have to put his hand on this roster to try to rotate it to avoid fatigue on our good players. And that just is a big problem for RGVFC, a problem that shouldn't be their problem, because nobody asked, or the Dynamo didn't ask RGVFC if this was okay. The Dynamo pretty much gave their consent to be a part of this tournament. And now that it's officialized, oh wait, our schedule. Oh, okay, we'll just grab some from RGVFC. Like, hello? Doesn't the Dynamo also have their own depth in their roster? Or why didn't you think about that before accepting the invitation to the League's Cup? Yes, I understand it from an RGV player's perspective. This is another opportunity besides Open Cup to play with the Dynamo first team. But this is a tournament that has no validity, no importance. This is pretty much a preseason tournament for Liga MX. Your priority should be MLS Cup, Open Cup, and the USL Championship for the Toros. If you know that your schedule is tight, if you know that your roster is pretty tight right now due to injuries, Gold Cup, whatever you want to call it, why accept the invitation? Now you're affecting RGVFC when there was no need to affect them at all, especially with the run of form that they're going through right now.
Yeah, I see your point for sure. But I'm also gonna say this. I mean, it is a great thing for for RGVFC players, most definitely for RGVFC players. And then of course, yeah, it's why is he using RGVFC players? Well, maybe he also wants to tank this thing. He doesn't actually want to necessarily play in it. Yes, people will ask, why did you accept it in the first place? Well, maybe it'll give him some opportunity to really see if Carlos Small would be ever ready, if Malik Foster would ever be ready, except Malik will be gone by that point, or if Michael Salazar is ready to really take that spot. So it could be a little bit of a growing point. Yes, that's why it is for the Open Cup, but also think of it this way. Coach wants to win the Open Cup once again. He wants to win it for a reason. He wants to get back into that championship. He wants to get back into that Champions League. That Champions League is going to be huge. And so I really do think that this is why he wants to use RGVFC players at this point, because I don't think we'll really see a lot of RGVFC players. We might see a couple in the Open Cup for the first match, and the rest of it will be played by none other than the first team player. I really think that that's a possibility.
Yeah. And so we're entering, so speaking of Open Cup, I think tomorrow will be the what is it? Not the raffle, the drawing for the fourth round of the U.S. Open Cup. And the fourth round is where MLS teams actually go into the U.S. Open Cup and start their participation. Right now we got a couple of matches going on. You have, Austin Boulder are defeating San Antonio FC 1-0 in the 34th minute. You got Memphis 901 defeating Hartford Athletic. But the point of this, the point of this is that from what I can see right now in the third round, you don't really have a lot of. In fact, I don't see any amateur teams like last year with NTX Rayados. All of them were eliminated, as far as I know. I think the only one that's left is Orange County FC, and they go up against Las Vegas Lights tonight at 9:30, which means that unlike last year when you had the freedom to bring in RGVFC players to play against NTX Rayados, this year you probably won't have it. This year you might, if coach wants to take it seriously. If you're going up against a USL team, okay, yeah, bring in a couple of your good guys like Malik Foster, Chuy Enriquez, and use them to play with the Houston Dynamo against another USL team. But other than that, I think it's going to be a lot harder this year than it was last year. So I think I see your point that this Leagues Cup might be a reason to kind of use RGVFC players to scout them and see if they're ready for an MLS contract with the Houston Dynamo. That doesn't mean I'm kind of happy. I'm happy with it as a Toros fan, but it's one of those things where it's already happened and we kind of have to suck it up and just hope to see that both teams are able to deal with it correctly, because the Dynamo also have a 2 games in between. They'll be actually traveling to Toronto on the 20th, and they'll be hosting the Sounders on the 27th, which are really, really difficult matches. So looking at it at the Dynamo perspective, it really makes a lot of sense that against Club America and this non-important cup, you're going to use Toros. And I know there's going to be a lot of broken hearts in this RGVFC roster, since I know about minimum of like 2 or 3 players that are diehard America fans. So it'd be amazing, especially Chuy. It'd be amazing to see Chuy going up against the team that he loves from Liga MX. But I think other than that, that's what we can talk about the Leagues Cup. Like we said, there is the possibility, according to Lester Gresh of Univision 45 here, that RGVFC players will be used by Gomer Cabrera for this match. Also, another piece of news is that tomorrow at 10 in the morning, let me get that right. Yes. So tomorrow, Thursday, May 30th at 10 a.m. at the HEB Park gym in the stadium, HEB Park is going to make an announcement for what's supposed to be the next friendly international match. Don't ask me what it's going to be about. I have no idea. I don't know what teams are going to be. We can only guess. Now, we do know for sure that the Qatar national team is in our backyard, has been in our backyard this week. That could be a possibility. It could be a possibility that the Toros might face off against the Qatar national team. I find it highly unlikely because in 2 weeks they start Copa America in Brazil. So they need to travel over there, get accustomed to the climate over there in Brazil, and that which takes some time. And it's so this is so last minute that I don't see it happening. I don't see it being Qatar being one of the teams that will be for this international friendly. I just don't. It just doesn't make any sense planning wise. I think this is going to be a Liga MX versus Liga MX thing. You're on mute, Jacob.
Right there. I don't think that it would be a Liga MX versus Liga MX. You said international friendly. And what that really means to me would be, well, an international friendly as in one international team versus another international team as in the country. Mm-hmm. And what I would probably really see, yes, it all depends on when all this goes down and stuff, when the dates would be. I would see it, as long as it doesn't necessarily mess with, I guess, any of the Copa America things or Gold Cup things, which I would probably see it being one of those teams. As in, I'd go with even probably Jamaica coming up here to play. Like just maybe a CONCACAF little international friendly going on, not Mexico or that just due to the fact that, well, they will need 100,000 plus seat stadium. You know, Mexico is playing in the United States, especially around the area, which would be LA or down here, which would just make total sense. So like in El Salvador maybe versus a Honduras, which would be absolutely crazy. But around like those types of teams is what I would really see coming down here. Now, of course, I would probably be way off, and it could be true. It could be a Liga MX versus Liga MX, as it always is. But I mean, hopefully, it's what I said. It's like actually an international friendly.
And there's also a possibility that one of these teams ends up being the Toros. I think the fact, like Blues fans said, last year we had a decent turnout when they faced Santos Laguna and surprisingly beat Santos Laguna 3-0.
Yeah.
And
wasn't that a free ticket game though, or was it like really cheap tickets?
No, it was cheap. As far as I know, it was cheap. It wasn't free, as far, if I recall correctly, but it was a relatively cheap ticket to watch this friendly against Santos Laguna, and also that match was actually transmitted to Mexico via Santos Laguna's official Facebook account.
That's right.
So out of that match, we got a little bit of exposure.
We got exposure for sure. It happened in the first home game, and then we got booed, and now it's just half those people left and will not show back up to HEB Park unless they play. Of course, yeah, I'm still upset about that whole thing.
Well, where are they now?
Exactly.
I'm pretty sure that they're with their tail in between their legs, because this team is doing a whole lot better than they thought it would. But that's neither here nor there, and we're pretty much beating a dead horse when it comes to that topic. I think Coach Echeverri and the players have kind of proved them wrong so far. However, we can't call victory yet because, like we said, there's still a whole lot of season to go. But yeah, going back onto the topic, I think it's going to be really interesting to find out what this international friendly is going to be about. And I really would like to see it involving the Toros somehow. Now, I'm not sure if you would want, a doubleheader like we had last year. You remember when Tigres versus Atlas played before Toros versus...
Oh, no, that was really dumb. It was just terrible for both sides. Or for all four sides in a way, too. It was not good one bit. The doubleheader situation was bad, considering you get there, game's basically over, and there's people leaving and people trying to get in.
Yeah.
It has created havoc before. We've already had that happen to us this season where we thought, oh my goodness, it was a crazy crowd. Oh, wait, that was for a totally different event. And now people are leaving. So, yeah, no, it does. A, it's false hope, and B, well, it's pretty tough to find a parking spot, and then you might get some people, I'm not going to name names, that will rant about it for about a bit. It's just, yeah, no, it's not good for both sides. Both sides don't. One side, for sure, in the summer does not want to start a game at 5 p.m. Central Time in South Texas.
Agreed.
When one side is the sunniest side in the world, and the other side will be the shadiest side you will ever sit in.
Mm-hmm. Although I do have to admit, even though it attendance numbers-wise hasn't been that great, and Sloth says it best, the crowd has been pretty supportive of the team in this last couple of games. And so kudos to all of those who are going. I don't recall seeing what the actual attendance numbers were reported for this Saturday, but I think it was a little bit better than the last couple. I think we finally broke into the 4,000s. Maybe, I'm not sure.
Broke back into the 4,000. Yeah, I believe we did. I don't know. I haven't gotten necessarily to exactly USLsoccer.com, but from what I could tell, and it does help. Hopefully, they counted every single McAllen Memorial Band student's ticket too, just to fluctuate the numbers.
Yeah.
Because it looked cool there that there was one section totally sold out, except they were wearing blue, which was random. But probably 4,000.
Right.
And it's good. It will always be good as long as we can
4,000. Okay, so here's the number: 4,377 for this match. This match against San Antonio.
There we go.
I'm trying to get.
Of course, some were San Antonio Academy fans too.
Mm.
I know that. I was able to see a couple of those. And yes, there were at least a small little group of them that showed up.
I'm trying to see what last week's was, but I think it took a while. Like they couldn't get past 3,500. And then for this match, they're reporting, like I said, 4,300 for this match. So that's good. There's still a lot more that needs to be done in order to fill this 9,400 seat stadium. I'm not, but yeah, big kudos to all of the fans that went, who were loud and proud and supporting the Toros this Saturday against San Antonio FC. So I appreciate all of y'all's support in that regards. So what else would you guys like for us to talk about? I think we pretty much talked about everything that needed to be said about the Toros so far. I don't have anything else planned to talk about today.
Yeah, neither do I. I mean, it's cool this Saturday, of course. We've got a lot of soccer. And tomorrow, too. Same deal. I know, of course. Sorry, Edson, that your team is not in this for tomorrow. But USA plays a big U20 game versus Qatar at the same exact time that the Ukraine U20 national team, which is pretty impressive, plays Nigeria. And that's a very important game that's played, of course, at the same exact time, around 12:30. And why that's such an important game is due to the fact that, well, Nigeria needs to draw, but USA has to win in order to just be safe in all aspects. And so that's very important because both Nigeria and USA sit at 3 points, and it's on goal differential, and Ukraine has already beaten two teams. Two teams. Exactly, playing one more team.
Yeah.
So that's a very important game, to say so the least. And that tournament's pretty cool, of course. Also, I think it was, a week no, 2 weeks ago that I got to talk about this with Daniel Forston, I think. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing his last name.
Feuerstein.
It's a tough last name.
3-1 Austin Bold and San Antonio.
Oh yeah, in the Open Cup.
Yeah, but here's one of the players.
$2 beer night. So
one of the players that surprised a lot of people, and that is Sebastian Soto, with USA, with his brace against I think was it Nigeria, right?
Yeah, because we lost against Ukraine. That's the last team that we played.
So it was.
Soto's been very impressed. Yes.
Yeah, and one of the more interesting things about him is that he has, I believe they were saying that he has a triple nationality. Because he is Chilean, Mexican, and American by birth. So he is not cap-tied yet, as far as I know. Which means it'll be interesting to see what they're going to do. U.S. Soccer is going to do to try to keep him and develop and hopefully make it to the U.S. national team, the first team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. That is going to be interesting, but it sucks to say this, but it always goes back to the first year, or not the first year, but it goes back to the first team really, as in you're able to do really well in this U20 Cup almost every year. You've seen, or even I've seen the teams go all the way, and like these youth national team World Cups is what I've seen, is what I really meant. Even before Tim Weah was old enough to get into the U20 team, he was in like U18s and whatever, and they went to, what was it, like the quarters or semifinals, something crazy, to play France, and got, of course, their butts destroyed.
Yeah.
But then again that same year, or not that same year, but just about that same time, it was the fall of the United States men's national team for the first team. Mm-hmm. So it goes back to what the heck is happening when we're getting all these great players and they're fantastic in these youth teams, but then when it goes to the first teams, they're a bit slower. And then you got that, but like Tim Weah hasn't necessarily impressed me when he's gotten onto the first team as well. Of course, yes, it does take time to get used to it, but once it's over a year, you should be used to that first team and used to that pace, but then it goes away, and then the players go away, where they were necessarily supposed to be the next Clint Dempsey, the next even Lionel Messi too, kind of, and then they go away before they even hit their prime. So it's a cool thing, but it's also frustrating that for some strange reason we can't get past this little knot of we can do well in these U20 World Cups, but when it comes to the real deal, it's like these players just give up or just decide to get old.
And we get the same, and it's the same thing with the Mexico youth national teams. I mean, Mexico has won the under-17 World Cup twice.
Yes, as well as the gold medal in.
Yes, in London.
London, yes.
The London Olympics. And yet, a lot of these kids, like Espericueta, Julio Gomez, all these kids that had a lot of potential, they just disappeared. They lost their footing. They lost their humbleness. They thought they were the next best thing when they really hadn't consolidated themselves yet, or whatever you want to call it. And in the end, we lost a whole generation, a whole good generation of players for some reason. We lost them, and we're still relying in the in the men's national team, we're still relying on Guardados, on the Ochoas, on the Miguel Layuns, Chicharitos. And now, like, we do have our Tecatitos, who, by the way, isn't going to be called anymore because he's a little douche, and faking an injury to try to avoid going to a friendly. That doesn't bode well with Tata Martino. But you still, now you have your Chucky Lozanos, you have your Diego Lainez, who I think is still overrated. I'm trying to remember who else is young. Pues Charlie Rodriguez, Jonathan Gonzalez. But we completely skipped over a complete generation for some reason. And I think the same thing is happening with the United States. There's something about these youth systems where the transition between youth national teams and the men's national team just isn't there. Mm-hmm. There is a comparison that Mexican national team fans make when they played the semifinal, when they won the under-17 championship in Mexico. When they eliminated Germany. Yeah. That Germany had a lot of players like Emre Can and many others that most of them are right now elite players in Europe and part of the basis of the national Mannschaft in the big team. Mm-hmm. Why can't U.S. and Mexico do the same thing? Is it mentality? Is it lack of talent? Or is it something external like marketing? We don't know. But something needs to be done if we want to go past being the giants of CONCACAF and start fighting for reputation at a more wide-scale level.
Yeah. And the good thing about it is, yes, I could be going just a bit too hard on them, considering that, well, like I named Timothy Weah, he has made starts for the first team, and that's been good because, of course, that whole thing of revamping this team and actually showing up these young players. And so I don't know the last time or the last what the roster was for, the first team. But yes, you did have a couple of players that, of course, were under 20 and got to play in that. AKA, of course, Tim Weah was really one big thing. Josh Sargent was another one that now I believe he is older, like 20 or above, and so doesn't necessarily get to play in that or something like that. So yes, there are a couple of things. It's just that's what you need to do as fast as possible. In especially like those January camps and stuff like that, you need to get your players placed up with, of course, the vets and get that team together where it's young / a bit of old, because of course you don't necessarily have all those talented 18, 19, and some 20-year-olds aren't necessarily going to be able to play on that first team because, well, their skill level's just not necessarily.
And it's like we mentioned, as well with RGV. You can't have all this young talent and not have any experienced players to guide them in their development. And that's what we're seeing with when Michael Salazar, with Connor Donovan, coming into this team. They're bringing in that experience to help guide the Chuy Enriquez's, the Carlos Smalls, the Kyle Adamses, the Robert Coronados, the Romilio Hernandez's, to be better, to show their 100% to tap into their full potential. We're seeing that this year, and we've said it many times before. Last year we said it a lot of times. 2017 we said it a lot of times. And it's until now that I think that the Dynamo and RGV have realized that what we're saying is correct, and the fact that you're putting in, with this national team, it makes a lot of sense. The U.S. men's national team is undergoing a generational change right now. You can't just put in all these young guys, like you said, like Weah, Sargent. Help me name a couple of other players that are young. Oh, Pulisic. You can't just put him in there, into this generation and expect them to do a lot of stuff. They're still fairly new to this. It hurts to say, but we still need at this time to guide this change. We need players like Michael Bradley, Josie Altidore, et cetera, to guide these players as they're gaining their footing in the national team. We still have 3 years technically before Qatar 2022, so there's still time for them to kind of go through this generation change. So
3 years and 2 rounds, if I'm not mistaken, correct? As in, there's always 2 rounds.
Oh yes, in the qualifiers.
Qualifiers, yes.
Although I think they changed it for this World Cup. I'm not sure because they did the whole CONCACAF League of Nations. I don't know. I think they.
If we're doing the League of Nations, that is much better. As in, it's basically just a tournament at the end. And that would be nice because it's exactly like they do in Europe. And that would be cool.
Yeah, because I think the CONCACAF League of Nations, I think it's for the lesser Caribbean teams to see who is going to go into the hexagonal or the next round, where you'll have Mexico, U.S., Costa Rica, Honduras, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and then that's the group where you have to play both on the road and at home.
Yes.
And then another group, because I think it would still be too big. I don't know.
Yeah.
But either way, I mean, it's kind of, I guess, yeah, it's kind of my point is in, you're not necessarily locked into Qatar 2020. You're supposed to make it into that next round, blah, 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 and all that stuff. But half the time, the United States is like on that bubble on that last day for that second group, unless, of course, they changed it. I don't necessarily care if they did or not. It still matters to me that, well, you're not going to be locked in. We know that. We've known that since, I don't know, the last time that we failed before 2018.
However, we do have Gold Cup coming up as well.
That too, you got Gold Cup. So yes, that's when you bring out, of course, your young players.
Think about it. Think about this though.
Strange.
Even with this generational change, you follow the U.S. men's national team a lot more. Do you think that even with this generational change, the U.S. men's national team they have to win this Gold Cup? Like, do you believe that it's something they have to do, or do you give them leeway because of the generational change that they don't have to really win this Gold Cup?
Well, I would say it's not really a have to, and I guess not necessarily a need. But I wouldn't give them leeway because it's a new generational change now. It's just, this is a tournament that we all know for group stage, you put in your young players. That's just a given fact. And then, of course, you get to revamp your lineup the next round. And so that's always a good thing. And then, of course, that's when you put in your veterans and all that. It's when you put in your Omar Gonzalez's because we still can't find a freaking player to fill that dumb spot.
Connor Donovan. No, just kidding.
Even that.
Now think of it this way as well.
I guess it's Sebastian Lletget, but he doesn't even play in that position.
Here's the thing as well. Add to this that Mexico has lost a lot of their key players for the Gold Cup. Chicharito's wasn't called up. Tecatito Corona wasn't called up. Chucky Lozano is going to be out for an injury as well. That's 3 right there of their best players that won't be called into the goal. Carlos Vela, the man on fire right now with LAFC, he's not going to be with the Mexican national team. He told Tata Martino, don't call me. They're better. Like, I'm not going to make it to Qatar 2020. Use this time to call in players younger than me.
That's cool. That's a really nice thing for Carlos Vela to do, and also might be a little bit of a selfish thing to do at the same time, just due to the fact that he's on fire with LA. It could go both ways.
Correct.
As in, Mexico fans could be calling him selfish, and LAFC fans could be calling him, that's really nice. He's saving himself for the club. So, yeah, of course, that guy seems like he's actually one of the humbler Mexican players, or old Mexico players, I guess. He's really figured it out that, why the heck you call me? I'm past my prime for Mexico. Get someone else. I'm now an MLS player for a reason, which I hate to say it, but sometimes it is a retirement league, even though you get these players that are fantastic. I mean, I'm sorry, Will Ferrell did a good job of giving them enough money for players like this.
Yeah.
Because we all know that Will Ferrell owns LA.
Or part owner of LAFC, yes.
Yeah, but he's not a small part.
No,
it's a pretty big part of it.
That's true. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting topic that we'll probably be talking about as the Gold Cup approaches, and once we start getting the final rosters for all of these national teams, it would be interesting to see how the U.S. men's national team square up. I hope they make it to the next round, because I'm going to be in Philly when we go into the knockout stages of the Gold Cup. And as far as I know, if U.S. goes into the knockout stages, they will be playing in Philadelphia. So I'll be there for Justin's wedding, and it's in our plans to go to the U.S. men's national team match over there in Philadelphia. So that's really that's what I hope for. But it will, like I said, it's gonna be an interesting discussion to talk about as things get closer to that. As you all probably know as well, this weekend we will have UEFA Champions League final. Today we have the Europa League final, where Chelsea defeated Arsenal by a score of 4-1, and Eden Hazard gets a brace, and not only that,
For his last time.
he has officialized that he is moving on from Chelsea.
Yeah, I mean, didn't he decline offers from Chelsea? Or
Yes, he
something
did.
Like that?
Yeah, he did.
Exactly.
Now,
So that was his final time.
Now, we don't know if that means he's going to be going to Real Madrid next season. That has not been officialized yet. There's rumors that it's going to be him and Dembele going to Real Madrid. There's rumors that Neymar and PSG will be trading Neymar with each other. So looks like Neymar will be going back to Barcelona for next season. Not 100% officialized, or it's just rumors.
I'm pretty sure Barcelona wouldn't want him, though. I mean, the way that Neymar is now is just interesting. I mean, it's kind of, he left at a good time, and also he left because the chemistry with him and his teammates were getting bad. I mean, you can kind of tell. I know that these are just, dumb cartoons that Bleacher Report puts on, but it's kind of true. It's a way that they put it on. It's you can kind of tell from the player's perspective as well.
It seemed like he was he wasn't comfortable being in Messi's shadow. To me, that's what I got out of his time in Barcelona.
Exactly.
Now, he may be willing to come back if he knows that Messi's in his last stages of his career. But I still think that Neymar is a bit overrated. He is a player that is very undisciplined.
Yep.
So I really don't think, and I've always been somewhat of a believer of those that say that second parts usually are not great at all. So I don't think it's going to go well with Barcelona getting Neymar back. Now, as far as Real Madrid and Eden Hazard, I think it'd be a perfect signing for Real Madrid. Now the biggest incognito is Bale staying or is Bale leaving? Because Zidane has kind of made it a little bit obvious that he does not want Gareth Bale back for next season. So it would be interesting to see how he's going to build this lineup going into next season with Eden Hazard. And the fact is that you're releasing your best player, which is or your best goalkeeper, which is Keylor Navas, in order to keep Thibaut Courtois, who has been not great this year with Real Madrid, making childish mistakes and not being the goalkeeper that everybody thought that he was, or especially the kind of goalkeeper that he was in Atletico Madrid. Wait, yeah.
He was with, well, technically, I mean, he was really with Thibaut Courtois.
Chelsea, right?
Was with Chelsea. Yes, exactly.
Yes, yeah, he was
and
with
he
Chelsea.
left Chelsea after, of course, they missed the Champions League for Europa League. So that's something else too.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know why I was thinking about. I think before he went to Chelsea, I think he was with Atletico Madrid. That's why I remember him.
Okay, we checking this right now. We got Wikipedia right in front of us.
We have technology.
Exactly.
Yes. So he was with Atletico. He went to Chelsea, and then he went to Real Madrid. Because he was actually on a loan from Chelsea with Atletico Madrid.
I love that when you search that, the first thing that really pops up besides his Wikipedia page is a video on YouTube that says, "What the heck is happening to Thibaut Courtois?" Oh my goal.
No, you know what I'm seeing when I Googled it? Atletico Madrid fans destroy Courtois' plaque outside Wanda with...
Oh, goodness.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, on Saturday, I believe it's going to be around 2 p.m.
Yeah, 2 p.m.
2 p.m. UEFA Champions League final between Tottenham and Liverpool. I think I said it yesterday, and I'll say it again. Liverpool is going to win 2-1. Mo Salah is going to score one of the goals.
Yeah, I mean, he's back from injury, as well as Firmino's back. They know how to play against Tottenham. They've known how to play against Tottenham for this whole Premier League season.
Mm-hmm.
It looks good for them considering the lineup compared on both sides. So that's why it would just really be better for... It just seems like there's one side that actually has an advantage over another. Because another side was about to lose their Champions League final over something crazy. I know both games were absolutely insane, but you're talking about not only if one of the stars for Liverpool gets hurt, there's actually someone on the bench this year that can really come out of their own shell, just like they did
against Barca.
Exactly, against Barca on that last match. So there is depth for this team, which is something that I don't necessarily have really heard people saying that about Tottenham.
Well, to be fair, they had Harry Kane out, and apparently he's ready to come back. You have Lucas Moura, who was Tottenham's hero against Ajax. So I think it's going to be tight. I don't think it's going to be a runaway game for Liverpool, but I still think that overall Liverpool have a better chance of winning the CONCACAF UEFA Champions League final against Tottenham, and that's really what I hope for.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I don't think it'll be a runaway game as well, but at the same time, it's just. Well, Harry Kane, even when he was on the pitch, not necessarily did impress.
Mm-hmm.
He was really average this season. It wasn't really talked much about. And I don't know. It's going to be interesting for sure. It's going to be a fun Saturday for that match, at least.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Saturday night, late at 9 p.m. comes RGVFC Toros versus Orange County SC. So that will be kind of fun in general as well.
And then Houston Dynamo at 7 against Sporting Kansas City.
Forgot about that game. Yeah, that's right. So 7. So yeah, right as Houston Dynamo ends, it's RGVFC time. So
exactly.
Cool.
Exactly. But guys, that's pretty much it for this show. I really want to thank you all for tuning in tonight. I know it's kind of hard being that we were out for 2 whole weeks, but we're like we said, we're back and better than ever. And so next week, hopefully, we should be back for next Wednesday at 7 p.m. for another episode of Down in the Valley to hopefully talk about a good result against Orange County SC. Then we'll also be talking about the match against Real Monarchs. That'll happen next Saturday as well. And, of course, next Monday we will be back to doing RGVFC FIFA 19 Career Mode videos. So be sure to be tuned in on that. Tuesday, Generation Orange at 7 p.m. And be sure to also follow Jacob's YouTube page, Tip of Texas Sports Network, where he does his own analysis as well about RGVFC. He also does live streams of his iRacing videos. So be sure to check those out there as well. They're really fun. So be sure to check them out. Be sure to also follow South Texas Border Sports with Rey Silva, where he uploads all of his interviews in practice after the matches with RGVFC players and coach as well. So be sure to give them a follow, subscribe to them, and as well follow us in our social media at Down in the RGV, like it's down there on Facebook, Down in the RGV, and as well as Instagram. You can follow us on our personal accounts at Ochoa _8 and at Jacob Young 456. We also want to take the time to thank our sponsors. We want to thank our sponsor, Golden Gold Press. They're the best choice for you to get custom shirts, hats, mugs, and other items for yourself or your organization. Be sure to check out their amazing products at a fraction of the price of other places at www.goldengoldpress.com. We also want to thank Roughneck Scarves, the official scarf supplier to MLS, USL, and US Soccer. Get custom scarves for your group or team at roughneckscarves.com. We also want to thank everybody at the Beautiful Game Network for their help in getting our podcast into the all of the platforms. I know we've fallen behind in the podcast versions of these shows. Hopefully, I can find some time to kind of catch up on that, so you can have all of the other shows that we've had before on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Podcast, the BGNFM's website, and as well as SoundCloud. So just have a little patience with me on that. Hopefully we can get caught up soon. Also, don't forget that downintheRGV.net is soon to come. I will let you know when it's ready to go live for our new website for Down in the Valley podcast. Jacob, before we go, do you have anything else you want to add?
Looking forward to this Saturday for the games, and well, hopefully, of course, the United States also win tomorrow in the U20. That will be big too.
Yeah,
that's really all.
Yeah, I really hope so. So thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see each other next week, and as always, go Toros! Let's go Toros, because we are Toros, somos Toros, and we also need to #do our part. Thank you guys. Have a good night. We'll see each other the next week. Take care.
Say you won't leave me. I know easy to run away, to run away. I know you wanted this, I never wanted this to end, but now we're going down. Whoa, picking up the pieces that we left here, we just left here.
No way of knowing where to go.